week. It is week 4. This is Editing for the Web, and get ready, y'all, for the portfolio review. I've got a handful of students in the classroom with me, but we've got a lot of portfolio sites queued up in a new browser window, kind of over in Chrome. So each of your portfolio sites is ready to be reviewed here live. And the goal of today is to give you some positive, productive feedback on how to evolve your portfolio site to its next best iteration. So again, the expectation was that you kind of created a framework on which to build next month in Portfolio 3. I wanted you to have something to work with as soon as you got into that class. So from here, you will move into that portfolio with the directive to enhance your portfolio site with elements of your personal brand and aesthetic. And not just, kind of adding and sprucing up the design, but also enhancing it in terms of the content, right? So fingers crossed that you guys created an awesome Real Deal Tacos website, and you're getting ready to make some revisions to that as part of the week 4 revision project, so you can get that to as close as you can to a stellar example of best practices with strategic web design. So that in and of itself could be an awesome portfolio piece. So as you approach that revision assignment, keep that in mind. That the effort that you're making to revise the site based on not only my previous feedback, but also your growing knowledge and aptitude in this area will help you kind of polish up what could be a really nice portfolio piece. All right, so let's exit this keynote slide, and I will join you again momentarily with all the portfolio sites. All right, so first up, we are going to take a look at the portfolios of our campus students here in Editing for the Web. We'll move into the sites of those of you who are taking Editing for the Web online. And then last but not least, we're going to take a look at the portfolio websites of a few individuals here on campus who are in Portfolio 3. I wanted you to kind of see the trajectory of how what you're starting now will be built upon in later courses. All right, so let's start with Jason's site here. I've actually seen this one before because I was helping Jason with this a couple portfolios back. So we have the brand up here at the top, and what's not stated here, but I know just because I know Jason, is that he's got kind of a production arm of what he does called Salt Moon Productions, and I believe that that's what this moon shape is representative of over here in the corner. Moon salt. Yep, moon salt. All right, and so then we've got a kind of a really awesome large banner image back here, and then your name kind of repeated. What I'll say is that I find that the name over top of your picture is kind of distracting. It's such an awesome shot, but kind of the placement of it there, like, it just looks kind of like a banner on your forehead in the picture. You have your name listed up here at the top. Wondering if you could possibly make this just a little bit bigger up here in the corner, and then take away this second showing or second application of it here, and just let the picture kind of shine through. Scrolling down, you're sharing with us kind of many sides of yourself because you're a multi-talented, multi-interested individual. So here on the home page, it's kind of lining up a bit like kind of like a resume that says, your skills, your awards, your experience, and where you're working. I like that you include kind of the talent resume too, because you're not just into production and design work, but also on screen or on event talent. There's a lot that you're really trying to encapsulate here. So that's definitely going to be an important focal point for all of the decisions you make moving forward, is how do I best encapsulate all of the things that I want to do in a way that makes sense to put them together in a single portfolio site. Like this phrase that you've included here, see the many phases I have, that kind of plays in with the moon, like moon cycles, moon phases, but it also plays into the idea of you being a multi-interested, media professional, or have multi-talents, right? So that ties in nicely. I'm just going to poke around to the various pages here. I do want to comment, that your experience and education, sort of this resume information, is laid out really nicely. You leverage your headings and your subheadings, and it's laid out in a way that's easily scannable. So you are very successful with that. Here at the bottom, I've got your social media icons, and I can see as I'm hovering over them that they are linking out to other places on the web where I can connect with you, which is great. Jumping next to the About Me page, we have we've got the Who Am I video and then a little bit of text here. So a couple of thoughts. One, again, the placement of the text over the picture. Wondering if maybe you could crop, if you want to keep the page titles here, wondering if you can crop these images so that you as a focal point are lining up more in like the area of the thirds, right? The rule of thirds, so that maybe your face is showing up somewhere over here versus right underneath the page titles. We've got the Who Am I video, which is great, and it will explain a lot about you, but it pushes the layout here, pushes all of this text down pretty far. Can you maybe utilize a two-column layout here where you're kind of flanking the text over in this general area? Obviously you wouldn't put it this far over to the side, you would center this information, but just a little bit of text here, because what I'm seeing with this video, I do see a title that says Who Am I? But there's not much else there, and so the text kind of gives us a little bit of an entry point that says what this video is about. It gives us as the viewer more information to decide if we want to press play on the video, right, and more immediately. Jumping over to modeling, so here I can see you have a whole portfolio of different shoots and work, and I'm going to just kind of randomly jump to one. So here we have the downtown neon. And so this is a singular image, and downtown Winter Park, a few images here. They're stylistically pretty different. This is kind of pretty kind of like preppy or conservative looking, whereas the downtown neon one is a bit more edgy and modern. So I don't know that you would want to put them all in a single gallery, but it seems to me that just putting a single picture from the shoot on like one page it's a lot of clicking that you're requiring people to do to see your various your various shoots. I'm wondering if you could have something that looks a little bit like a contact sheet, right? Like something with like thumbnails that maybe had like 3 thumbnails across. And then separating the different galleries, like maybe it's a downtown neon here, and then I had 3 thumbnails from that shoot, and I could click on one of them and it would maybe give me a light box effect, something that opens it up bigger. I'm just thinking that if I want to see more of your work, I'm having to do a lot of clicking to get there. So how can you, bottom line, how can you reduce the number of clicks? The option to do that isn't allowed in Google Sites. Okay, so that's it's a good conversation point to have, is that when you're using free and available tools, you're kind of handcuffed a little bit to what's available for you at that level. Google Sites, this is a very clean application. It's free, and you have experience, and it's easy for you to use. But you have to ask yourself, is this going to prevent me from presenting myself in the best light because what I want to do isn't available here? You have some experience now with a content management system like Google Sites. It won't take you as long, or it won't be as hard if you wanted to switch to a different platform that offered you more functionality for your content. You have very visual, having your modeling portfolio means that you have a lot of visual content, which you want to really show off. So you have to ask yourself, what are the tools in Google Sites that will allow me to do that? And if they're not there, where else can I get them, right? I know students hate to hear, oh no, start over, but there really is so much power in the iteration process, where you take what's best of your inspiration and ideas for what you initially created, and then evolve that with new tools, new resources, new content. I'm not saying that I think this site needs to be redesigned. I'm saying I think you need to think about how well will this site scale to my needs moving forward, right? I'm going to jump over to videos. So here, you tell me that you were the interviewer and the director, but you know it says Amber Nova interview, and I get a little bit of information here, right? Like it's a tiny bit, but can you give me a title of this piece, a description, like a short 2-sentence summary of the piece, and then the roles that I see them here. But something like I'm looking like a little blurb of information that would maybe exist over to the side that says over here, Amber Nova interview. You know, in this short piece, I am interviewing whoever Amber Nova is, and you know, yada yada yada. I was the interviewer and director on this piece. In doing so, you're giving me the context to understand and make choices about the content that I see on the page, right? People aren't going to likely poke through every single thing on your portfolio and look at it from front to back and left to right. They're going to make decisions about how is what I'm looking at most relevant to me and my reason for contacting Jason or looking at his work, right? And so you want to make it as easy as possible for them to make those decisions. Last but not least, going to jump over here to your blog. So here is where you are kind of giving some nice photography and some of your poetry and just some of your creative writing, which is great. I'd love to see this side of you because also writing is such a valuable and hard thing to do. And so it's nice that you're able to share this part of your talent as well. One thing I'll say is that this center aligned text, I saw a couple of places where we've got some paragraph text that's center aligned, so you definitely want to left align that just to stay true to best practices and being able to easily read content online. But this section looks great. I really love the large pictures. We talked about also that this is not a it's not a traditional blogging module or application or plugin or widget or any of those things, whatever you want to call them for whatever system you're working with. This is just content on a page where you've put picture, text, picture, text. And as you add more content, this page is just going to get longer and longer and longer. And there's a good chance that somebody who just wants to check out your poetry is not going to see certain pieces that maybe you would want them to see because they're going to have to scroll so far down to see them, and maybe they just don't have the time or know that it's that far down. But if you were leveraging a true blogging type module or widget within your site here, you could do things like add categories and tags, and so you could very easily categorize all of your poetry ones together. So if that's what someone was interested in, they could hit the category of poetry and then see everything that you've done like that. Using the kind of the tools and the features and functionalities within those blogging applications, widgets, modules, whatever you're going to call it in whatever system you're using, it just really empowers you to do different things with organizing and laying out your content. So again, something else to think about with using Google Sites, right? Overall, it's so clean and it's so functional, and it's a really very full portfolio already. So like you are in a really good spot, Jason, because all of this is a lot to work with and great to have all this material moving forward. So you're in a super great place to move into Portfolio 3 and to have a little bit more time to ask those questions of yourself and then answer it, right? Next up, we've got the portfolio here of Miss Kayla. And so as I pulled it up, there was something that kind of confused me at first, which was over here where it said Real Deal Tacos food truck and the URL. And I was like, oh no, she sent me the wrong link. But I see that you probably started to create this site for Real Deal Tacos on Squarespace and then transitioned it into your portfolio, right? Okay, it's using this. Oh, got it. Oh, I see. I see. Yeah. So, I mean, something to think about, because until you get a custom domain, your domain is going to say Real Deal Tacos Food Truck. Right. All right. So, tell me how to pronounce this. Jediris. Jediris. Okay. And what's the significance with that?
That's my second name.
Okay, your second name. So Kayla. Jediris. Jediris? Jediris? I'm going to try. So I recognize this logo or this artwork here from a previous portfolio class with you, which is awesome. I like that it's taking a focal point up here at the top. It's very clean, very minimalist aesthetic, which I appreciate because you know, a lot of people tend to go with a minimalist approach for portfolios, kind of treating it like a blank gallery wall where the pieces that you're sharing are what take the focal point or the center stage. And so this is nice because the design itself does not compete with what it is that you're choosing to share. So one thing that I'll say is that I've got your name up here at the top and home. I see that it's kind of a portfolio, but like no other words. I mean, the photography, this gives me, ideas about photography, but I'm having to make a lot of assumptions about what else I might see. And so in that way, I don't think you're using the most, or you're not getting the most out of this high value real estate area to kind of introduce yourself. I do see the about video kind of showing up down here, right? But I had to scroll to see that, right? Is there a way that you could add maybe some sort of like a tagline, because you say digital media producer down here, something of that effect up in this area? Can you, bring the logo kind of down side by side, or the illustration down side by side? What I'll say is this: I appreciate the aesthetic and the intention behind it. It's great at this size, but if you start to shrink that down, you're going to lose some of the clarity, especially because it's got kind of that hand sketched with the camera. So that's something, I'd like for you to think about next month in Portfolio 3. Is this design or illustration scalable enough to meet, my needs if I have to use it in a very small application, right? So, wondering, can you bring this down to flank this over here, maybe make the video a little bit smaller and utilize more of a 2-column layout to move this more up to the top of the page, because there's nothing else down here aside from where I can connect with you on social media. So, prioritizing this content piece. And maybe it's just a short little hello because of all the same feedback I just gave Jason, right? Maybe I need a little bit more to decide to click on the video to press play. So something to think about. Portfolio. So here we have your photography. Scrolling down, these are awesome pictures. I see that you've categorized them, which is nice. You can kind of see the different stuff you were doing. Films, okay. So this is kind of where it went a little off for me, just because it seemed like maybe photography was the only thing here. And it wasn't, and so I saw like one shoot and then I went into another shoot. So I'm just thinking, oh, this is a photography page. But then I scrolled a little bit more and actually found video. So I think maybe under portfolio here, having this be a folder where there's 2 pages in it. One of them is photography and one of them is video work. And separating those two so I can more quickly, because let's say I want to hire you for video work and I go to try and look at your portfolio, but all I see here is photography and I only get down to here and think, she doesn't have any video, right? Make it easy for them to see that you do in fact have the video. Over on the About page, great little picture of you, a nice short synopsis. I like that you have your mission here. This page is beautiful. It's very well laid out. It's simple. I think that this really works. I question maybe, can this home page, the content here, and the About page be consolidated in some way? Maybe, because there's not much on either page. Something for you to think about, if that makes sense, right? So here, just a simple contact form. It's pretty wide. I would put like some spacers in to kind of reduce the width of that a little bit. But again, tell people why they should contact you. Are you for hire? Do you want to collaborate? Like, what's your deal? Give people that extra direction as to why they might want to get in touch. Because also think too, like if you're interested in working in like a particular kind of project, or if you want to like jump in and be like a PA on somebody else's. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you can specify here. All right. You guys, these are really awesome and a great a great start for you to be building on next month into Portfolio 3. We're going to jump now to those students who are online. So we're going to start with Linda Anderson. So again, a very clean approach here. We got a nice image, home, portfolio, photography, videography, music, and contact. So what I'm wondering is what separates portfolio from photography and videography? How are those things different? So we're about to find out. We've got a little bit of an about message here, which is great. It's not too much text and gives us a little bit of context to understand what Linda's doing and kind of the way that she's approaching her portfolio. So I'm going to jump next over to portfolio, and seems like something's loading here. I'm going to just refresh the page to make sure that there. Well, no, that's just the counter. Okay, so maybe there's nothing here on this page. Maybe that's an oversight. Maybe she started to have a drop-down menu that would have photography, videography, and music, but then separated it out. I'm not sure, but this is kind of one of those disconnects, right? Those are one of those things that make you go, because it doesn't react or behave in the way that you expected it to. So it's a disconnect in our user experience here. So I'm going to go next to photography. Here, let's see, we've got an abstract photo, and it looks like it says 1 of 2. So I'm going to click. So it's opening it up in a lightbox effect, which is nice. I can see the the bigger application and kind of scroll through here. I can certainly appreciate that you have given it like the title and then a little bit of extra information so that we have that context about where this was taken and kind of the significance of the image. But there's only 2 things there, so not much here on this page. Go next to videography, and we're popping up, looks like a couple of videos. So we have something that says my channel and then a few videos here. So I'm going to say watch now and see what happens. So it's just going to play a video. Okay. So what I'm seeing here, and this is feedback that I've been providing to students in the reviews previous to this one, is that we need some context to understand these videos, what you did, the title, the description, what were the roles that you played, did you use any sort of special software that you want to highlight. All that stuff is really keyword-rich content that helps people understand the scope of the work that you do, whether you made it in iMovie or you made it in Premiere. That's kind of letting people know the entry point of what they can expect with working with you. So again, more context needed for the video work and why you're choosing to share it here. I'm gonna go next to music. So my music. So it looks like it's opening up. It's looking like it's opening up a SoundCloud, so it's kind of linking these things in, which is great, and we can play this stuff here, and then contact, just a simple contact me form, which is great. But again, same same feedback. Why should people contact you? What kind of work are you looking to do? What kind of collaborations? Are you for hire? Do you want to jump on other people's projects? I'm going to come back here to the home page and just make one comment. So you have a nice clean site. It's the aesthetics are pretty consistent from page to page. But what I'll say is you have 2 kind of different decorative scripted fonts going on here. And so I might look for a bit more consistency because these are similar in that they're kind of more of a scripted, but stylistically one is more contemporary and one is a bit more fancy, so it's giving off 2 different looks. So that's definitely something for you to explore a bit more in Portfolio 3. All right, so I am just really quickly going to press pause on this recording to address a noise in the classroom issue. Okay. So just to pick up where we left off, was mentioning kind of the two separate fonts that we see here, and an opportunity to make something a bit more consistent with that as you move forward and work more with your personal brand in Portfolio 3. What I think really is wonderful about this is that it's so clean that anything that you choose to kind of do to enhance it moving forward, it will be simple to do. Because you've got a nice clean palette on which to build. Up next, we have the portfolio of K. Lauren here. And so we have K. Lauren Professional Portfolio. Now here it's K period Lauren, or K little mini heart Lauren. And then here it's connected. And so this makes me think Cloran, right? But over here it makes me think, initial K period Lauren. So there is kind of some confusion that's coming up with that. You want to make it clear. What do you want people to know you as? And then be consistent with however you are presenting that. So looking what else is available here. We have a cool image of you up top. We've got home, blog, about me, selected work, and contact. Your contact information up here, and then how I can connect with you on Instagram as well. It says, life is your art, be creative and own it. So I'm going to just kind of scroll down and see what it is that you're sharing here. We've got some like red textures. As I'm kind of scrolling up, I'm struck by how sharp this patterned image is and how blurry this one is. Now I didn't think it was blurry initially when I looked at it, but as I just started to scroll and saw the comparison point there, I'm like, wow, those are totally different. So it's just something to think about, is like the varying qualities of the images that you're choosing. You want to make sure everything is as high res as possible. So here we have a video, but again, no title, no description, no invitation. I mean, I can learn more, but what happens when I learn more? Right? I'm clicking on this and nothing is happening, right? So I don't have any information about what it is that you're sharing here. Is this an introductory video? Is it an about you? Is it your mission, your vision? Those are all things that you could help us out with a little bit by providing that context to understand the content. Continuing to scroll, we get a cool quote here and something that looks kind of Marilyn. I like that you've shared that. And you do have an aesthetic going on. It's kind of like glamour with the jewels and the rich sort of textured, lush fabrics and the lipstick. So I can definitely see these pieces coming together. You have a contact form where we can get in touch, and again, your information here. Scrolling down, it looks somewhat like a blog, and the ability to subscribe down here. And then again, reiteration of your contact information. I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and it's opening up what looks like a blog. So welcome to my page. I'm Kristen Lauren Mitchell, so K Lauren. So here you have K period Lauren. So again, I want you to go back to what we saw on the home page and make sure that you're distinguishing that. So I'm looking to step foot in the entertainment world as a public relations specialist. So you've given us kind of an introductory post here, which is great, and kind of the promise that this is the beginning and there's more to come. I'm wondering if I click on blog here, so it takes me back to this page, which is fine. The about me takes me just to a short bio and then some work history. What I see here is a whole bunch of different styles, right? So this font is different than this one, is different than this one, is different than this one here. And what you want to do is kind of create a style guide for yourself to stay true to stay consistent from page to page, so it doesn't look like as we move to the next page we're on a totally different site, right? So defining for yourself, what am I going to use as a page title? What am I going to use as a heading level? What am I going to use for my body font? What is the size of that font or that typeface? What is the kerning that I'm putting on the letters? Whatever that answer is, make it the same for the body text on one page to the body text on the next to the next and the next. And when you do that, you're creating that cohesive aesthetic that we talked about. Under selected work, so here I see a few things, and they look like images, and as I hover over them, so Disco, my photography, I'm clicking on it here. We got kind of a cool logo popping up down here, a watermark on there, and I'm trying to click through, but nothing's happening, right? So only, oh, there we go. It's kind of moving through some of the images here. Okay, so here's the description, the logo I made. I'm going to just kind of, okay, fashion my photography. You've given me some context to understand what I'm looking at, but give me a little bit more. Like, what am I looking at with this picture? Okay, it is photography, but can you define it a bit more? So a logo I made, for what? For who? Like, what's the brand? So a logo I made for my photography company. I like to see the diversity of what's going on here. I'm going to press pause while that's playing. You're showing a diverse bunch of work here, from videos to photography to graphic design. And again, I want to know more about each of these projects. It seems to me like you have a nice collection of work here, but it's kind of there's a slight disconnect for me because you said that you want to get into public relations. So I want to know, how do these pieces of work kind of showcase your skill set in public relations? Something you need to think about is, does the career or the path that I want to take in the industry have a visual output? If you're a graphic designer, the answer is yes. If you're a videographer or an editor, the answer is yes. If you're a public relations specialist, the answer is, I don't know, maybe some of the work that you do produces a visual piece of media, but a lot of times it has to do more with strategizing and messaging. And so for those of you who want to do PR work or even social media, anything that's more strategy based, you have to ask yourself, how do I intend to show that I can do what I can do? And the answer to that is likely case studies, right? Where you've gone into somewhere, you've defined a problem, a strategy, and then you've basically gone in and applied yourself, to that goal or to that issue, so that you can say, this is what it was before, and this was my plan, and this is what exists afterwards. So case studies might be more appropriate for the public relations or social media strategy students in MCBS. Now, last but not least, contact. So we have another contact form. It's great to have a number of places for people to contact you, but I feel like, maybe you're adding it. It's not a crutch, but it's like, what do I put up here if I don't put my contact information? And I might suggest you don't need to put it everywhere, because what if something changes, or what if you've got it wrong? You can always drive people to the same place where it's located, but sharing the same information over and over and over again is a bit redundant and can be problematic when that information changes, because then you don't know, have I updated it everywhere that it needs to be updated? All right, jumping next over to Carrie's site. So here we've got home, about, bio, coursework, and contact. We've got the contact information and the places we can connect online, which is awesome. Dream big, just a little bit of information about Carrie. What I'll say is that this information in paragraph form needs to be aligned to the left for better readability. And also, like, your name is pushed really far down here, wondering if your name can be maybe up more in this area, and then the dream big information can be here, so I don't have to scroll to read it. Another thing that I noticed, though, is as I'm scrolling, the navigation, if I'm down here at this section, like, I have no navigational options, right? And so something to think about. And let's go next to the About page. Now that I'm on the About page, I have no branding information. So that part that said Carrie is totally gone because it was just in the banner, not in the header. You need to make sure you have clear branding information in the header of your portfolio website so it's visible from every page. So here we have a little bit of an about information. Again, center aligning text is not good for readability. You want that to be left aligned over here. Scrolling down, just awesome like text and some cool imagery there on the side. Jumping over to bio, wondering how bio is different from about, right? So it seems like maybe that's a very similar, that's similar content, right? So maybe this is more like a resume, maybe that's what, or experience, because bio, this little short kind of blurb is the bio, but it's, this is also more like employment or experience. I think that would be maybe resume or work history or experience would be a better, more intuitive title for that particular link. This content on this page, you've used headings pretty well, but how about some subheadings too, just to kind of give us some more information hierarchy on the page. And then also what I would suggest is, it doesn't seem that you've actually applied bullets here, text bullets. It seems like you did dash, space, and then start the text, because generally there's more of an indentation on the second line as well when you've applied the bulleted style there. And then maybe if you can, give it a little bit more of a spacing between each one of these bullet items, because it seems very compact, which makes it hard to read. It's very dense, and in that way it's not scannable. This is a lot of great content, but it needs to be laid out in a way. The other thing that I'll say is, it seems like, I'm going to draw this out here, it seems like you have all of this kind of available space to share the information kind of in the center of this area, right? Kind of the way that you've aligned the bio there up at the top. Let's take a look at where it says Air Operations Specialist. It's so far shoved over to the left, you're not taking use of any of this space over here on the right hand side. And if you did that, many of your lines might not wrap to that second line, and it would give it a bit more breathing room there on the page. Jason. Yes, you can make a suggestion. What do you got?
So what helped me organize my resume is I use Google Docs because they have a platform.
Okay.
Lay it out.
Uh-huh.
And then when I finish copying and pasting from the template into here, I decided to use photos so she can get rid of that negative space. Use photos of her actually doing the work.
Okay. Okay, so add photos of you doing the work, doing what you do over here, and then just to kind of repeat in case the recording's not picking it up. Jason said a great way that he used to help organize his resume information was with Google Docs, and they have a template, right? And that's a great place that you can go for that. So thanks for that suggestion. That's awesome. Going next over to coursework here. So we've got, my work showcase about Carrie. And, over the past 12 months, I've been taking and learning different techniques. Below are the highlights of my work. What I like about this is you have identified yourself as a student up here in this little blurb of text, which gives me the information to understand kind of the diversity of what you're sharing here, right? So, in some of it you might have video, and some of it you might have strategy, some of it might be, more infographic based or advertisement, and I might not be able to look at it all and, understand how all of these things are related, but when you tell me that you're a student and you're taking classes and you're trying different techniques, now I understand. Now I understand the diversity here. Wondering about the black with the banner here. Seems like maybe there's an opportunity for some imagery. You've done a bit of color blocking, but you're using like light pastels before. So this seems sort of like a stylistic departure. I'm going to go ahead and click on this just to see what happens. So here, so it provided you the opportunity to work with your daughter to highlight her as an artist. And so here's a video, right? Well, why not just show the video? You've shown me a piece of the artwork, but what you want to be showing me is your work, not her work, right? So the video is your work, the artwork is her work. So there's an opportunity for you to share more of your skills. So here you've given me a screenshot and then provide me just the URL here. Again, posting URLs as they are is kind of a no-no. It's against the 10 commandments of the class. You want to give it a meaningful titled link. Maybe it's something that says view full presentation, and then I click on that link and I go to YouTube. But thinking about the user experience here, why should I have to go to another place when you can embed that video, not just that video, but this video back here within a page, and I can watch it from within your site? That should be the goal, not sending me to a completely other environment. So last but not least, let's go to the oh, looks like actually the photo loaded here. So now we've got a photo. It's kind of hard to see what it is, but now I can see that you intended for a photo to load there and that it wasn't in fact black space. Jumping over to contact, just a simple form, get in touch. So this is what I'm talking about, folks. Interested in learning more about me, my work, how we can collaborate on an upcoming project, feel free to reach out. This is exactly just sort of the invitation that I'm talking about. Why should people contact you? Just put it like it's very simple, just like that. So Carrie, this is a beautiful start to the portfolio. A few tweaks are needed, especially in terms of getting that branding information in the header, and then possibly consolidation of the about and the information that's on this page. But excited to see this evolve into Portfolio 3. So here we have, let's see, we have the portfolio of another student in the class. But the brand is Faith Walker Entertainment Enterprises. And so this is an individual who is presenting themselves as a company or entity, which is fine. If what you intend to do after Full Sail is not just freelance or be an individual or kind of start your own company or work for, work for a larger enterprise, you can definitely spend your time working on that by creating portfolio assets for a particular entity. So here we have kind of what looks like a logo up in the corner. So it's FWE, so Faith Walker Entertainment Enterprises. You would think that maybe it would be FWEE. There's a lot going on here with the graphic in terms of like the circles in the background and the kind of the wave, like dynamic motion in the text. It makes it a little bit difficult to read. It's kind of hard to pick out those elements. As you move into Portfolio 3, I really encourage you to simplify what's going on here and make sure that people can see what you're intending them to see. So just a very simple question, how can we help? You got kind of a weird capitalization there with the first and the last word. This is basically a sentence, it's a question, so help should not be capitalized. And we've got the contact information here and then a button that says contact us. And when we click that, it goes to Facebook, right? So that's a bit of a disconnect, right? So it was an unexpected jump because I wasn't expecting to go to Facebook. I was expecting to go to something that says contact us. So somewhat of a disconnect there, especially too because you say how can we help and then you provide the number and then the contact us again leads me to believe that we'll be getting in touch in some way. Maybe it's email, maybe it's an address, but the Facebook was an unexpected jump. So we have home, portfolio, and contact. So living creatively with no fear but only eager expectation. So it's just kind of an explanation a little bit about kind of the philosophy or the work ethic or maybe some of the core values of this entity, but like there's still nothing really, I guess up here, graphics, websites, videos. But this is really all that's letting me know what this entity, what this company does right up here at the top. Here you've given me so much space with which you could showcase some of your work or even talk a little bit more about how you like to approach graphics, websites, and videos. But instead, we have a lot of nice pops of color, but that aren't really saying much. Additionally, there's a lot of styles going on here. So this font is different than this one, is different than here, is different than what's going on. We talked a lot about creating a consistent style guide, right? So what does this look like? I'm going to just jump over to my own website really quickly and just pop to my styles page, right? So here is where I have defined what these styles look like on my own website. This is what a heading 1 looks like, heading 2, heading 3, this is body text. And that's what those things are going to look like on every page of my website, from home to the blog to the projects to any of them. You're not going to see any other styles than these because this is what I have defined in my style guide to be consistent from page to page on my site. So that's what I'm saying, when we're looking at these sites and the need for consistency. You want to give it that same look and feel, so I'm not thinking, that I'm on a different site when I go from one page to the next. So let's just jump now. That was the home page, and again, there's not much on the home page besides, just this kind of philosophy or vision related introductory information here. I'm going to go to view more, and so that is taking me to who we are page, or I thought it did because I'm seeing up here that says who we are, but it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, the who we are page is the same thing as the portfolio, right? So that's again, a little bit of a disconnect, because if I was here and it said view more, or like view our portfolio, view our the work we've done for clients, then I would expect it to go here to the portfolio page. But when it just says learn more after it's telling me a little bit about the company, I think I'm going to learn more about the company. So a disconnect with that. But you know what, there is a little bit of about information here. So further kind of compounded. It says, you know, you've been around for almost a decade, serving clients, having fun while doing it, you know, which is a little bit more about your business and less just about the work itself. So here we see a few examples of what you've been up to. So a business card. You know, we've got, you know, you've labeled it here. Let's see. Gonna have to go, so I thought maybe if I clicked on this there would be like an arrow that I could see like the next thing, but there's not. I have to click out, then click something again, it launches up. And so what I'm seeing here is this looks like a website or a blog of some kind, but the title information just says screenshot. So you're not giving me the full context for these things that you're choosing to share. Like, what am I looking at and why is this important? What are you trying to show me that you can do for me? Right? So that's part of building your portfolio. It's getting very clear on also why you're sharing the things. Like, why do you want me to see this? Does this mean that you can build websites for other people? Because that's not clear with what's going on here. So again, these portfolios are an opportunity for you guys to really message about your skills and also the kinds of projects that you want to get into, what you want to do for other people. Going to just like jump over to the video presentation. When I clicked on it, I thought maybe it was going to open up in another big window because that's what all of these things did, right? So I could see it bigger. So then, like, that's a disconnect in terms of what I expected to happen, right? And so again, needing the context to understand what you've created and why would be really beneficial there. Last but not least, I'm going to go to a contact page, simple contact form. We've got an address and then just kind of some contact information here. You know, Brittany, I see that, you know, you are operating kind of under this moniker or under this identity, but, you know, do you want to introduce yourself as part of this business? Is your name recognition important? Do people associate you with this business? Are there other people who are associated with this business? These are all kinds of things that you know, come to mind or are questions for me as I'm poking around what I'm seeing here. So again, wonderful start with these portfolios, guys. Like, you have the makings of something really special, but again, your portfolio is a living, breathing thing, and theoretically you're always going to be doing better work and becoming more clear and more focused on what you want to do in the industry, and your portfolio needs to be constantly updated to reflect that so that you can continue to attract the kinds of projects that you want to. So again, please take this positive, productive feedback you know, in the spirit of getting your sites to its next best place, right? Right now I want to take a look at the portfolios of a couple of Portfolio 3 students, right? So these sites have gone through the review you just went through and have been evolved this month again in Portfolio 3. So I just want to poke through these, point some things out, and offer these guys some productive feedback, because these aren't done either. Like, hopefully you see some growth from where they were to where they're going, and then to eventually where they'll end up. But there's always going to be room for improvement here. So this is Rex's site. We've got kind of a cool like entry point. He's a very talented visual designer, and so he's given us a very powerful visual here in the beginning with his logo here. So I'm going to enter the site. We see that logo reflected up here at the top, and then he just kind of bam hits us with these various pieces of digital artwork or digital projects that he's created. As I hover them, I can see that he gives me a title, right? And not just like kind of who the company was, but like, oh, that it was social media marketing. I click on it, I get that title, and then he says, I created memes for Full Sail social media during the Orlando IX. Like, I understand what I'm looking at now, right? I understand that that is a piece of social media artwork. I'm going to kind of click forward here. So again, mega memes. So it was designed by Hashtag Geek, Hashtag Media. I know that that's also one of Rex's companies or his identities and something he's involved in. So I know that this is a piece of media that he created for that. So really what I want to point out here, guys, is that he's given me the title and he's given me the context to understand what oh, this was a sticker and a logo that he created for Zero Earth Art Designs. So the way that he's presenting this works helps me understand his approach and who he's doing this work for. So I'm going to just scroll down here. We've got so many great visuals, and like because he is a visual designer, digital arts, like we would expect to see like some really stellar stuff, and he gives that to us right off. This is the portfolio page. That welcome was that kind of stunning one with the ivy. I'm going to go to Client Showcase, right? So here I'm clicking on this, and so what he's doing is case studies. So he says, this is the client, and this was my process for going through this, right? So Mousetrap Mini Golf was a fictitious company. We were tasked with sketching. Then we had to design a theme and create marketing materials. So we see the whole process of this. And check this out. When I click on it, so the beginning sketches, these are a few of my original sketches, for my idea for this. So you see how he's telling us a story. He's not just giving us these pictures. He didn't just give us this final one here at the end, right, where he, the finished business card. Because there's more to that. There's more to this identity that he created. And the client showcase is to give us that backstory, right? So this is a really beautiful and effective way to share a more well-rounded picture of a project, where it's not just the final deliverable as a business card, because there's generally a lot more that goes into it. So here's his affiliation with the Corgi Mafia, with the Flying Junkies logo design. And again, I just appreciate the narrative and to understand the full scope and the full involvement of what he's able to do for a client, right? Because let's just say he said, oh, I designed this business card, right? And that's what he's showing on his portfolio. It might not mean that he designed the logo, right? Like maybe someone else designed the logo and all he did was like put it on a business card. So if all he's showing is the business card, he's not showing us the process and everything that he did that involves sketches and iterations of that logo. So if you want to show more of your process and more of your creativity, and even more of your own personal editing, and by editing I mean like the choices that you make about your work, like this is a really awesome way to do it. I'm really pleased with the way this was a specific consideration and a specific conversation that we had about his portfolio and his work, how he could show more of that full body. And for me to see this version of his portfolio, like I wish he was here so I could give him a high five right now, because this does exactly what it's intended to do. Going over the About page. So here, just a little bit of background about him, and just an awesome picture. Like it's not pages and pages of information, but it lets us know who we're dealing with here. And then contact, just get in touch, right? I might suggest for Rick to say, why should people get in touch with you? We've got, these various ways that we can do that. We can connect with you on social media, but like, what are you looking to get into? You have your fingers in many different pies right now, so to speak, meaning that you're very diversified in who you're working with and what you're working on. Do you have more availability? You're also a full-time student. So just to kind of pop back over to my own site really quickly, I have a contact page where people can hire me to do stuff, but like right now I had to put up a sign that says, hey guys, like I'm booked right now till the end of 2017, like please contact me at the start of the new year, because like I am trying to message. It's not saying I don't want to work on anything. It's just like if you have an urgent need, like it's not going to be able to be fit in right now. And so the kind of like the same thing over here with Rec. It's like, what is your availability? What is your desire? What is what is the area or the topic or the path in the industry that you want? to walk down with people. So it's a simple thing, and it's just like a couple of sentences maybe, right? But it helps steer the conversation. All right, last but not least, we're going to take a look at the portfolio site of Jess here. So this is quite an evolution for what she originally created, which was more visual in terms of like a large full screen banner imagery and like a very kind of brushstroke font typeface for her name. It's very clean. We've got her name up top. We did talk a little bit today in Portfolio about she has designed a business card consistent with this look, and there was some discrepancy between the font that she used here in this and the font she was using on the business card. And she's like, well, this is what was available in Wix, and the other font on my business card, which I like better, is a system font on my computer. Okay, like I get that, but you have brand inconsistency at this point, because I can look at this one and the other one and say that they look different. So you might say, well, how do I do that if Wix doesn't have my font? Well, maybe up here what you do is, instead of having this be text, what it is an image, right? And I certainly know that part of what I've said in editing for the web is, no text as an image. Don't screenshot your resume. Don't screenshot, whole pages of content. But if you've got a graphical element, that you're using as somewhat of a piece of an artwork on your page, that's a different story, right? I want to highlight that difference. So here we've got videography, design, and branding. So she lets us know very early what she's doing, and then an about. So just a little bit of a bio, and it says that she does, graphic design, branding, film direction, editing, as well as art directing, and all of these other really awesome things. So it identifies her as a student, and then an invitation to look at the portfolio and to contact her if you want to know a price to do something on the work. So, I appreciate what she's done here in, basically saying that I can be hired, and give me a shout if you want to quote on a project. So scrolling down here, we've got videography. Click here to see all. We've got design. Click here to see all. Branding, click here to see all. I don't see anything there. So this seems, let me just refresh the page to see if I've missed anything. Seems like a lot of empty space over here. I think there's an opportunity to do more with this area. I wanted to see if that kind of loaded in. Nothing loaded in here, so check the functionality of that within your builder. One thing I'll say is that, okay, so the videography, click here to see all. This is kind of, it's not that interesting of an image here. For design, this looks kind of compelling, and then there's nothing here. So it's kind of just inconsistent in terms of the quality and the approach and the engagement of these images, if you will. So, something to think about. How can, like, if I'm using these kind of big blocky areas to highlight my content, like what is the showcase thumbnail or piece or background image that I'm putting there, and is it as compelling as I want it to be to make people want to click on it? So like as I'm looking at this, obviously I don't see anything, so not that compelling. Here, okay, I do see something, but I don't really understand this picture of the signage for the business here. And in this, I'm like, well, this is kind of a cool design. It makes me want to see the designs. So I'll click the designs. So I'm going to see all, and it gives me kind of the navigation to know that I'm on design, because it's kind of crossed these out. And so we see her Lake Worth longboard. So we have, I'm going to click on this. It says business card 2. So something kind of weird happened there. And what this shows me is placeholder content, right? So maybe this is a mock-up of, and I don't know how to get back to where I was, right? Like, so there's a big disconnect in functionality. What I'm looking at is placeholder content for Wix. So it seems like this needs to be, built out quite a bit more because I'm getting lost in the navigation. So it's not intuitive the way that this is set up. So here I click on it, but it was a screenshot, but now it's taken me all the way over here. So this is really kind of it's really kind of breaking up my experience because nothing is functioning the way that I would expect it to. As I hover over this, I can see that it's just a screenshot of the video there. I'm going to go back to this page. I'm going to see that, okay, so now I'm on a page called Work. And I'm scrolling down, the About is in blue. You know, like and this has changed. Like, so this is an older design that she was working on. So what this tells me is she's got a lot of kind of the work in progress, if you will. Click here to see where it takes me. So here we've got the branding. So this looks like Lake Worth. I'm going to click on it, but it takes me again to over here. So it seems like there's some jumbled, things are jumbled up quite a bit in the links. And so definitely an opportunity to clarify that moving forward. Jess is a very talented visual designer and editor. And I know that she's got a lot of great content, but I can't see any of that content. And I keep trying to get back to this homepage where I started, but I know that this isn't it because it didn't have all of this blue. So kind of gotten lost in the linking of what's happening here. I'm going to try one last time to go to videography and see what happens. I get this, I got the screenshot, but when I click on it, again, it takes me to a totally different project. So obviously, my advice to Jessica moving forward is clarification on the navigation, the linking structure. I know you have a lot of great content, but if we can't see it, then it's not effective, right? So moving forward, that's going to be your top priority. You know, I share all of this with you guys in the hopes that you can see what other students are doing, ways that they've approached it. When I give you an idea and say, like, this is how you should give it a title and give it a little bit of context to understand what we're doing. I like it if you can see examples of that, which I feel like you did today. If you have any questions about the feedback that's been provided to you here and kind of the expectation for evolving this site moving forward, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm super excited to work with you on your next best iteration of these portfolio sites.